Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back. So excited to be designing our weeks today. I'll just give a few seconds for people to join and get settled. We are rebranding instead of calling it productivity. We are talking about designing our weeks because that's really what we do, right? We're planning, we're designing, we're being really intentional about the week. It's not just about productivity, and it's certainly not about producing. It's about making sure we're having the weeks we want to have. We're going to do something a little different today. I'm going to actually be using slides and see if we like it. If we don't, let me know and we can go back to not. But I actually do like having something on the screen for people who might come and go so they know what the current, question or prompt is. And also just to kind of give you guys something to look at that might help you think. I know that looking at something always helps me think. So while we're waiting for people to get settled, make sure you have your journals, make sure you've got your morning beverage. My coffee's getting cold. I probably should have warmed it up. But I'd love to know in chat, just as a little kind of warm up exercise, what is your go-to comfort food? And I have a guess for some of you, but I definitely want to know if I'm right. What is your go-to comfort food? I have a lot. I'm having trouble narrowing this down for myself now that I think about it. I think mine is pho. I really love pho when I need comfort. But yeah, what is your go-to comfort food? Mace's chocolate chip cookies. When you say that, that makes sense. I don't know that I would have guessed that. Mace's, I love pho though. Yeah, there is a really good pho place around here, which I am so hooked on. But their broth is like extra fatty, which is probably why it tastes so good. So I have to order it sparingly because it's probably the least healthy pho in the neighborhood, but it is the tastiest. I will say that. And May, thanks for joining today. Thank you for being here. So yes, what is your go-to comfort food? And for those who might be joining and might be new to the design and planning sessions every week, make sure that you've got a notebook or a worksheet and make sure that you've got your calendars handy because at the end we get into calendaring. But everybody get ready because we are about to do some quick work and plan our weeks. The best thing you can do to make sure that you have an amazing week is to design the week you want to have so you know what you need to be doing. So this is the part where you plan for success. All right, let's get into it. What was your biggest win last week? So part of this process is reflecting back, celebrating wins, understanding what happened last week. So let's start with what was your biggest win last week? Know this for yourself and put it in your journal, but I'd also love to hear it in chat. What was your biggest win last week? I'll share mine while you guys are writing and typing. Last week, I hit a big goal on one of my TikTok channels. I have multiple ones, but last week I hit the first monetization goal on one of my TikTok channels, which unlocks the ability to go live on TikTok. And so I started doing that last week, and that felt huge. So I got a lot of stuff done last week, but I'd say that was my biggest win, was hitting that milestone and then taking that next action, which is to do TikTok lives, which is a lot of fun, by the way. A lot of fun. May, you had a great consultation with a mentee. That's amazing. How did that feel? Like, I would love to know. And I love celebrating these wins, so thank you for sharing that with us because I don't know, I think it's so amazing all the progress everybody's making, and I love celebrating together. I need to figure out if I can get one of those, like, celebration animations on screen with the YouTube Lives. I'll see if that's possible. Confidence boost because you really knew what you were talking about. Yeah, that can feel so good. It is a great confidence boost to know you did something that was important to you and someone else. You didn't feel like you were faking it. I can appreciate that. And let me put the question in chat for people who might be joining later. What was your biggest win last week? All right. And then thinking about the goals you set for the week, and if you want to share in chat, anybody who's here in the comments watching this on replay, feel free to share, but you don't have to. But definitely at least write this down for yourself. How did you do on your goals? When you think about what you said you're going to do for the week, that top line, weekly set of goals, how did you do? For me, I did pretty well. I was a little overly ambitious on some of the details just because I have a lot going on and a lot of things I'm building, like new frameworks and a lot of content and revamping the website. So I didn't make as much progress on the website as I wanted, but I did make a lot of progress on everything else. So overall, I'm feeling pretty good about how I did on my goals. And as we think back on how, checking in on those goals, my biggest question that always helps me is what did you learn from that? Like, as you look back on those goals, what did you learn? Like, I'm not beating myself up for not building the website because I knew I had a lot of huge things I was trying to do in 1 week and some things shifted around. So I learned that I was right, that I probably had an overly ambitious week. Now that you've kind of reflected on your wins, checked in on the goals, thought about the learnings from last week, now let's go back to the higher level goals that you had set for this year, your annual and your monthly goals. And as you think about those, how are you going to move the needle on those goals this week? So it could be more than one, but pick at least one thing that specifically relates to your personal, annual, and monthly goals. What are you gonna do for that this week? Pick at least one thing. Now, checking in with a different area when it comes to planning and designing and setting aside that for a second. Now, think about what is time sensitive this week? What is time sensitive this week? And if you don't have anything that's specifically time sensitive, and maybe that's where you are in the year, it is still early in the year, think about one thing that's important to you to add to this list. Next, we're checking in with our balance. And so looking at the 6 life dimensions, what is something new that you're adding in this week? And what is it? As always, you can share in chat, but you don't need to. But from the 6 dimensions of life, what is one new thing that you can add in this week? And if you're starting to pick up on this, we do a lot of cross checking to make sure that the things, the goals, and activities we're choosing are in alignment with our purpose and with balance. That cross checking is what keeps us on track because it can get really easy to get tunnel vision. So we'll keep checking back in on things like balance and purpose. And these ones can be pretty fun. Like, this is where you might say, I'm going to watch a YouTube video related to something I want to learn about, or I'm going to spend some time reading this book. You don't have to commit to finishing the book, but are you going to spend some time reading this week? Another good example in service and contribution is I know a lot of people really enjoy volunteer activities. This could be finding your next volunteer opportunity. You don't have to do it this week, but finding that opportunity. For some of you, it might be doing the yoga video that I keep encouraging you to do. All right, for each of the things that you've written down so far for goals, because it should be, a list that you've been making. What I want you to do is for each of those goals that you identified, make sure you have one actionable task you're committing to. At least one actionable task for each of those goals. And the task can be making the phone call, choosing the video, but what is the task related to that list of goals that you just made? And so make a list of specific tasks or actions. And as you make that list, feel free to prioritize them. It's good to have a consolidated list because you can see, hey, is this a little overly ambitious given, some other things? So make the list and prioritize it. You don't fully need to curate it yet, but it's really good to have it kind of ranked if at all possible. And then as you do that, think about which ones of these tasks or activities are committed versus stretch goals. I actually like having stretch goals. Stretch goals are fun. First of all, if I need to swap things out, it makes me feel good. At least I did something on my list. I think I've shared that before. But also sometimes you have time to free up. And when you do that, you can move into your stretch goals. So we're going to get into this week's pro tip before we move into calendaring. So this week's pro tip is be intentional about ending on time, when and when not to do it. And I'm going to share that I think that there are two camps of people. There are those who are firm about ending on time, and there are those that are happy to go overtime and don't even think of it as an option or are actively choosing. So, the ask this week in the pro tip is to be intentional about it either way. And what I mean by that is I am one of those who errs on the side of everything ends on time, and I will sacrifice relationships in order to end meetings on time, right? Some people know that about me. Other people, they're just like, well, the other person's talking, so I'm going to keep talking. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, this is your pro tip, is decide which things you need to be very firm about ending on time so that you can stay on track and honor your own goals. But I'm also going to say there's a time and a place for letting those conversations continue. Just know how you're making that decision. For example, you might be prioritizing relationships and community, in which case the relationship is more important than ending on time. So the pro tip is to be actively deciding which is the most important path to take, what your priority is. It should align with your goals, basically. And if you need help with ending things on time, if you're like, no, I should end it on time and I'm not, let me know because I can help with that. But again, the pro tip is to be very intentional about which way you're going to go. And also be intentional about whether you're the person that is keeping everybody else over time in the meeting. Be aware of that. So that's my pro tip for the week as we think about how we stay on track with our own goals is being very intentional about how we approach ending things on time. All right. And then again, right before we move into calendaring, I'm going to challenge you to set an intention for the week. And you can check in on this intention throughout the week. This is part of making sure you remain in alignment. And so I shared my personal intention statement. This is what I'm going to be focused on this week, which is keeping my focus on steady progress. I'm trying to build really big things. It's really easy to get discouraged. So my intention is to remember that every step forward is part of the bigger picture, that I'm going to trust the process. I'm not going to let things cloud my long-term vision. This is something I'm going to use to motivate myself this week because when you're building big things that take a long time, it is easy to get discouraged. So my intention is to focus on the big picture and know that this steady progress will pay off. So I want you to set your intention for the week. I am going to give you another sneaky pro tip here, which is that you can actually work with ChatGPT on your intention statement. I know some people get a little hung up on like wordsmithing and word crafting. And that can be a blocker, but I actually use ChatGPT to set my intention statements for the week. And I also on my planning board have a space for a motivational quote. And I always ask ChatGPT to pick a motivational quote for the week for me. I tell it like what my vibe is and I let it go pick the quote for me. It saves me so much time and I feel really good about it, to be honest. So that's my other pro tip. And then whatever you're using for your planning board or checking in with yourself, if that's your journal, just make sure that along with your top line goals to stay anchored in, that you put your intention statement or your motivational quote right there so you can see it. I don't think my board that I use is, you know, ready to show people, but at some point I can show you guys what I'm doing on my board and how I have it organized. But for this next section, we're moving into calendaring. And so look at your week, pull up your work calendar, and then pull up what you're using for your goal tracking. And take the actions that you committed to just a minute ago and start slotting them into your week. And as you do that, just make sure that you're crafting a week that is balanced for you and how you work. And take a look again at your work calendar, your personal calendar, take a look at all your systems. And this is the time to really make sure that you are setting your week up for success. And I'm also going to say that when I say what balance looks like for you, one of the things I've learned by having a more independent schedule the last 9 months is I actually like to work in bursts, meaning I like to have 2 or 3 days where I work really, really heavily. I like to have 2 or 3 days where the work is lighter and I'm more focused on my fitness. So balance doesn't need to mean that every day you're structuring things exactly identically across the week. It's just as long as you get your things done, you get to figure out how you do that, right? And if you know your own system, that's another way to set yourself up for success is to be like, yeah, instead of trying to make sure I'm doing it exactly like this, I'm going to follow my own flow a little bit better. So keep that in mind as you look at your calendar. What patterns have you found about how you work or which days you feel more social, for example, and work with that. All right, I'm going to stop talking and let you guys work through the calendaring portion. And once you finish, if you just want to say goodbye as you exit, feel free. I just thank you so much for coming and doing this. This is really helping you have amazing weeks is by designing them together like this. And then before you go, I am going to share the link to our new Discord server where we can check in throughout the week on our goals and all the dimensions. So I just shared the link to the Discord server if you want to join so we can do check-ins throughout the week together. And I'd also love feedback on if you enjoyed having slides for this session. I do think it's helpful to have a visual to anchor into. Sam says, love the notes and tips in the chat. Thank you. Sam, thank you so much for that feedback. I will keep doing that then because I do think that helps people as they come and go for lives. So thank you, Sam. And hi, Sam. Welcome. Okay, May likes the slides too. Perfect. I will keep doing that then. Thank you for that feedback, May. And as always, when it comes to calendars, I'm going to encourage you to challenge some of the meetings that you might have at work and see if you really need them or if they could be solved through a chat or an email. Yay, congrats, May. Thank you. And congrats on doing your calendaring. Appreciate you joining today. I can get little things in chat. Look, I don't know if you guys can see those, but I can get the little celebration thing going. Oh my gosh. Sam says still working, but I have a good start. Awesome. I promise next week I'll have the music thing figured out so I can have music for us during the calendaring session. And also, if you guys are finding these sessions valuable, I would love it if you would share these with your coworkers, friends, anybody that you think could benefit from taking some time to be intentional about their weeks. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you. Thank you. Sam, thank you so much for joining. Great job today. Have a great week. All right, everybody. I think most people are wrapping up calendaring. So, thank you again for joining. And if you're new to this series, we meet every week on Sunday in the morning so that we can plan and design a successful week together. We set goals, we set intentions, and right now we're closing out the calendaring stage. So, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the live. Thank you again for joining. I will see you next week. And again, if you're enjoying this and it's helpful, please make sure to share it with people. Let other people know that we do this because I really want to help as many people as possible create amazing, successful weeks because that's how you build lives that you can love. Thank you again. Proud of you for taking this time for yourself. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much.